Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're moving on into week 4 of our Action Master month, and we're going to take a look at one of the larger toys that was available in the line. This time around, we are taking a look at the Neutro Fusion Tank and its driver, Megatron. Now, of course, like all the other Action Masters, this toy was released in 1990. It would only be available in 1990, being discontinued in 1991 when the toy line was phased out entirely. So what we got here is a nice what I would call a good transition toy, since G1 Megatron was a gun. And starting in the G2 line, Megatron started to appear as a tank. And throughout the years, it has kind of fluctuated between being a gun and being a tank. So I'd like to say that this toy is a nice transition over into that thought. And of course, to start with, we're going to take a look here at Megatron. And as you'll notice, he is radically different than how the original toy looked. This is done up to somewhat resemble how Megatron appeared in the cartoon. Of course, without the gun barrel here on his backside. But it does retain some of the features that was present on his gun mode, like we've got the hammer back here on the shoulders, and of course the grip still forms his legs. But other than that, all features of the gun are removed. And there is also the one very noticeable thing that's missing is his fusion cannon. While not officially released as a toy, there was a fusion cannon made for this version of Megatron. A fan in Japan actually made a fusion cannon, and Takara was impressed with it so much they allowed him to sell the fusion cannon directly at a Takara toy show in Japan for one day. So anybody that has one of those is pretty darn lucky. But at any rate, we'll take a look at Megatron's articulation, and he has the standard articulation for an Action Master. Namely, you can turn his head from side to side. You can rotate his arm at the shoulder, all the way around, like so. He's got a metal bar here on his legs, which allows the legs to move. They can be put into something of a split. He can raise his own leg up at the hip about 90 degrees, and he can bend at the knee about 90 degrees. And that's it for Megatron. He's decorated with some stickers that he comes with. Mine's missing one of them on here, as you can see down here at the ankles. One of the few times you got to put stickers on the Action Master figure. We're going to set him aside for the moment, and we're going to take a look at the Neutro Fusion tank itself. It's basically a hunk of plastic. We're not going to lie about that, folks. It's done up in a rather strange color scheme, since we got a predominantly black tank with some neon green on it, a purple turret, and we got some red missiles here, and we got a red gun. But when you take a look at it, it does look pretty fearsome at most angles. But of course, since this is a transforming tank, some of it's going to look a little off, given the fact that it does transform. And then, of course, down here, the color scheme really goes off when you take a look here at the tank treads. ones here up front are black, but they go gray for the rest of the way. So that's clear giveaway. It's on fake treads. The toy instead rolls around on these little wee wheels. It's got 4 of them down here underneath the tank. So how well does it roll? About as good as you'd expect. This thing weighs a fair amount, so those little wee wheels just don't cut it. And of course, due to the fact that this thing is a transforming tank, the turret here does not rotate, so that's another negative on the tank itself. But let's get to the fun part of the tank. Let's get some Action Masters in here. This unit can carry 4 Action Masters comfortably. We'll start with Megatron himself, as it's his tank. We'll put Megatron here in the driver's seat. All you do is just bend his legs up to the 90 degrees. We'll remove the gun so it's easier to get him in. And you just set him down in there. Bring his arms up a little bit, and he can sit in all the way, just like that. Of course, this is the gun Megatron carries. So if you want, you can raise his arm up a little higher, and he can carry the gun, like so, into battle. He can mount the gun right here in front of him. But in this case, it's almost better used as a turret just above him. But as you can see, it just barely clears his head. So this is kind of wonky here, folks. I really got no explanation for this, other than the fact that whoever's back there manning the gun better be somebody that Megatron trusts. So we're going to go with Soundwave. Back here at the back of the tank, let's pick it up so you can see it. There's some foot pegs here on the back side of the tank. So we'll just take the holes that are on the bottom of Soundwave's feet and plug Soundwave into the back of the tank. Or at least let's get one of them in. And then that'll hold him pretty securely. We'll bring up his arms, kind of simulate that he's trying to hold on to it. But as you can see, his head doesn't even clear the gun, so hopefully Soundwave's got one heck of an advanced targeting system to be able to see what he's doing. Now, of course, up here in front, next to the gun, next to the turret, we do have some green area that does look like a couple of seats. So we'll put a couple of guys up front. We got Devastator here. Raise him up. Bend his legs like so. Then we just set him in like that. Keep his other leg drifted over to the side. And of course on the other side we'll just put Croc. Do the same thing with him. There you go. Put a leg over on the side. And there we have it. We either have here a troop carrying tank or something that just barely passes for a party wagon. All in all, decked out like this, it's not too bad. I mean, it could be worse, but it also could have been a lot better. These little bumps here on the front of the tank would have been better if those weren't there, so that the guys sitting up there would look a little more natural. Because otherwise they just look kind of weird. The gun there on the back is a little too high. But, at any rate, as a display piece, if you wanted to display this, displaying it in this mode's not bad, really. It's not bad, really. I mean, if you have a guy that you don't have totally complete, you can stick there on the back, and if you got a couple guys that just got the gun, I think they'd look kind of stupid with their rifles fully built up there on the front, if you ask me, but otherwise, it's not too bad. It's passable. Yeah, passable. We'll go with that. Okay, folks, to start transforming this thing, and it has two modes as well. So, to start with, we're going to remove the missiles here on the side of the tank. They just peg in, so it doesn't take much effort to pop them free. Of course, we'll remove the gun here at the back. You're also going to remove the front end of the turret, like so. Then we're going to reach here, we're going to remove the turret itself entirely. It just pulls straight up, like so. Set the tank aside for a moment, because this here becomes the first vehicle. All we do is we reach under here. You'll see a couple of green pieces that are hinged. You just fold them out, like so. And then here is the first vehicle. This is the first transformation. It's a jet throne. Yeah. If they say so. I'm having a hard time swallowing that too, folks. But let's put Megatron back in it. In all actuality, we could have done this without taking him out, but we're just going through the motions here. Put Megatron in there like that. Then, of course, give him a little more firepower. He can have his gun. And there you have it. Of course, this does swoosh half decently. Megatron sits in there kind of loosely. There's nothing to secure him, so he is going to wobble about a fair bit, so you won't want to get too crazy with your swooshing, but otherwise, it's not bad. It certainly could be a lot worse, but I guess part of the reason they did this was to give him a way to fight with Optimus Prime, because the Optimus toy does have a flying vehicle in it as well, so that way they're equal, if they insist. We'll set that aside out of the way here. And we'll bring the rest of the tank back so we can finish this. Alright. To transform this part of the tank, first thing we got to do is take this green section here in the front, and you're going to fold it straight up like that. And you'll see we got an exposed purple section. We'll fold that up as well, like so. Then these side panels here that are right next to the green portion here, you just fold the top piece out, just exactly like that. Then that leaves you free to grab the front section of the tread, and you're going to pivot that up so it's straight up and vertical. Just exactly like that. Then you'll grab the rear area of the tank, and raise it up and back. Just kind of wiggle it back and then adjust the tread portion so it's up like that. Then next, we'll take the big purple gun, which is now a missile, and you'll attach it here, dead center, in the front purple area. The little red missiles that we had, they will plug in into these holes here at the back. Just exactly like that. But of course, these green sections here at the side, you can pop them out sideways and you have gunnery seats. And then there you have it, folks. The tank's other alternate mode, a missile base. This actually isn't too bad. It's not perfect by any means. But for simplicity's sake, it is what it is. So there's no arguing on that. Now this unit can hold itself a fair amount of Action Masters. Let's load it up. Now, of course, right in here in this area, there's a molded-in seat. So if you wanted to, we could sit somebody down in it, like that. But if you'd rather, and for a little more fun, have your Action Master just stand in here. And then if you want, for covering the other direction, and put another Action Master in there. Of course, that also leaves open the gunnery seats back here in the back. So we'll put Soundwave over here. Just bend his knee, bend him, sit down, bend his knees. Raises one arm up a little higher so it clears all the plastic. Raise it up a little bit here, and there you go, that looks a little bit better. Then let's spin it around here to the other side. Adjust it up a little bit. Let's bring on today's special guest, Slicer, our European exclusive. Say hello to the world, Slicer. And then he can join in, as he did the first time when we did Gut Cruncher a couple years back. So there we go. Let's detach the camera and take a look at this. And of course, we still have some room for some more Action Masters if we wanted to. I mean, the foot pegs that Soundwave was standing on earlier, they're still open, so there's room for another guy that can stand back there if you'd like. And of course, there is a nice hollow area up here. Let's see. We'll just borrow Croc for a second. Stand him down in there. Yeah, if he didn't have his gun, he'd be fitting in there perfectly. So, all in all, you could easily fit 6 Action Masters on this base. You could fit 6 Action Masters all in here. All in all, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Of course, that depends on your opinion of Action Masters, but be able to fit 6 of them in there, that's play value. Okay, now folks, let's take a look at all of the loose pieces available for this. Starting, of course, with the tank itself. And of course, this is a pretty sturdy toy, but as you can imagine, some of the areas do break off. Just be careful handling it. So this gives you a decent view of the tank without anybody on it. And no accessories either. Then we also have the turret / jet throne. Now one thing you will want to check on is the wings themselves down here at the bottom. They are hinged, but as you can see, they do come off. In fact, when I bought this toy used, the wings were off. I had to figure out for myself how to get them back in. Of course, this toy also needed one heck of a good scrub down, so whatever last adventure it had, it did not get cleaned up from it. But that is something you want to watch out for, is make sure these wings are attached. And then you also have this gun, which the instructions refer to as a twin laser cannon. Of course, at the bottom of it, it has the one massive peg that pegs onto the tank. And there are 3 smaller pegs. There's one here at the back. And we'll adjust the angle of it here. And there are 2 more here on the sides. So always check those to make sure they haven't been broken off. And we also have the turret barrel here, also known as the fusion missile. It's all hollowed out, but it is a pretty solid piece of plastic. And then you have 4 of these little red missiles, and they just have the 1 notch here on the side as to how they connect to the tank. And there we go, folks. And of course, you also have, should go without saying, but we'll say it anyways, should also have Megatron. And that's the loose parts. Alright, let's take a look now at the instructions for the Neutro Fusion tank. As you can see here, we start with a picture of the jet throne, and then it goes to the missile base. Then we get a couple of pages here of the parts, although we do have a typo on the instructions. For the turret, they list it as turret / fusion missile, whereas up here in the descriptor, it's listed as turret / jet throne. And we know it's a typo because we look right here at the barrel. Turret barrel / fusion missile. So evidently the people at Hasbro don't know what a fusion missile is. And we see how to build the tank. They at least point out on here about the front seats and the rear portion. But of course they point out the side of the tank itself, which would be right here and right here. There are some black knobs that are footstands. Excuse me. But I don't like putting guys there because you'd have to make them stand sideways. You know, they'd have to stand, if we can get him on there, they'd have to stand like that. And about the only use that would be is they'd provide cover for the guy standing here in the back. But then again, then you would lose a lot of the you'd get a break as to where you could stop rotating the turret. It's still kind of wonky in my eyes, folks, but at any rate. And now we start to transform it. I start with the jet throne. Sorry, folks. Been fighting the cold that won't die this season. So I'm sorry if my voice does go in and out. But for those of you who have been here before, you also know this is the section where I'm usually making fun of them the most. And then there we go here at the end. And then how to put some stickers on. And unfortunately on Megatron, you only put on the sticker for his insignia. The ones on his feet are pre-applied. And at the end here, it's save your robot points and read your tech spec. But of course, before we read the tech spec, I have something else I want to show all of you. Especially those of you who have been very loyal to this channel for all the time in the world. You poor souls. I do happen to have a European copy of the instructions. And right away you can see a noticeable difference here on the cover. So on the American one, it has Decepticon in purple, whereas on this version, it does not. And as you can take a look, I'm guessing that this is in Dutch and French, like a lot of them that I've picked up are. And as you can see here, I mean, while I can't read the languages, it does seem to be that they are also referring to the, at least in one of them, that the turret is also being referred to as the missile. So, that just says, all over the world, Hasbro doesn't know what a fusion missile is. But, a nice, interesting change-up on the instructions. I don't normally seek these out. I mean, if I happen to find one on eBay that is at a shop that I frequent, yeah, I'll pick it up. The price is reasonable. And of course, I've had some friends send some to me. Like most notably, the European instructions for Superion that traveled all over the world to get here. If you missed that story, check my playlist and find Superion. And you can have some laughs over that. Alright, now, even bigger bonus time. Get this out of the way. We got for you the box. And you can kind of see from the imagery on the box why the ones that were seated on it got picked. They're on the box too. But as you can see, this is a pretty colorful pretty colorful bit of artwork here. Kind of weird that the missile part is colored gray on the box instead of purple like the rest of the turret is. It's very strange. And then, of course, up here in the corner, advertising that it includes Megatron. Rather decent picture of Megatron there to be all else. And then, of course, we got, shows here the tank in its missile launcher mode. Also has the jet throne, but it doesn't mention it. It's also got more gray than the purple we got, so this is obviously the prototype toy. I kind of like the gray on this more than I did the purple. It just looks better in my eyes, but that's just my opinion. And of course here at the top of the box, shows how the toy breaks down into the two toys. And here at the bottom, it's got a nice big picture of the toy and its two alternate modes. And a listing of all the parts. Of course, down here on this, they get it right. Turret / jet throne. And of course, we get here on the sides, kind of the same thing, showing off all parts of the toy. And of course, this one has a price sticker on it. This was sold at a Toys R Us for $25. Those were the days, weren't they? I mean, let's face it, it costs you $20 nowadays to buy a deluxe Transformer. But for $25 back in our day, you got this. Somebody's getting shafted, folks. I'm just not sure if it was us back then or us now. Anyway, moving right along to the back of the box. We got the Action Master mural here and their story. I'll spare you all reading it. Over here on the side, we got the power plans for Megatron. All the weird things it has, like down here. Power surge regulation component. Well, I guess it's a nice thing for a mechanical being to have, but why is it in his ankle? I don't get it. And of course down here is barcode. Over here opposite the tech spec is his robot points. He was worth 4 points. And then we get down here to his tech spec. It's got Decepticon written above his picture, and this picture, of course, is the full-size picture of the little tiny one that's here in the corner. It gives his name as Megatron and lists his function as Decepticon leader. His motto here has changed from the original toy, as on the original toy, his motto was peace through tyranny. Now it's conquest of the universe rests upon the immediate termination of all Autobots. Cybertron and Earth are not enough for this power-hungry Decepticon. Now he wants the whole galaxy. More ferocious and powerful than ever, this living engine of evil seeks the worlds throughout the cosmos and utterly crushes all those who dare defy him, especially the Autobots. In pursuit of these grisly goals, he drives the Neutro fusion tank, a high-impact battle tank armed with fusion cannon, corrosive smoke shells, anti-aircraft photon machine guns, and heat-seeking mechanosensors. The tank converts into a ground-to-air wire-guided missile launcher and search-and-destroy jet throne. Pretty interesting stuff. Wonky, but interesting. Then we get over here to the tech spec itself. It lists his strength and intelligence at 10. His speed is 4, his endurance is 8, his rank is 10, his courage is 9, his firepower is 10, and his skill is 9. So, as you would expect, Megatron is still very powerful as a Transformer. But of course, if he wasn't, he wouldn't be Megatron, now would he? Let's bring them back up here. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of the Neutro Fusion tank and Megatron? Despite all of the shortcomings that the tank has as a toy itself, this is definitely a top-tier toy. Now, before all of you start hating on me for this, hear me out on some of it. First off, Megatron. Granted, yes, he's the Action Master form. But Megatron was discontinued as a toy officially from the shelves in 1986. Only for a little while into 1987 could you buy him as a mail-away. I mean, yeah, of course, we had Galvatron. But if your parents were anything like mine, if you had the one version, you weren't getting the other one. Because I know, my parents took me to see Transformers the movie in the theaters. They would have known, because they were there, at least one of them was there, and saw Megatron become Galvatron. I would not get Galvatron. Thankfully, I didn't have Megatron either, so that's kind of a moot discussion, but I know my parents. And I'm sure a few of you out there are probably shaking your heads on it, going, yep, that was mine too. But think of ones that were younger than us that weren't around when the original toy came out. They'd have been cheated out of Megatron. This was a way to bring Megatron back into the toy line. So that's always a good thing. We got him back again. The tank itself, it's okay. It's okay as a vehicle. I can imagine the Wii wheels were probably its biggest gripe. I mean, yeah, I'm not happy that the turret itself can't be rotated. That kind of limits some of the play value on it. But that's easy to overlook. Especially if you got a bunch of Action Masters, slap them all over this thing. That'll compensate for it. Since as we've seen, you can get 6 guys on this thing. I mean, yeah, granted, I didn't put 6 on there, but if you use your imagination and what all I showed you, you should be able to put 6 guys on here and see for yourself how it looks. It'll look kind of wonky and silly, but imagine if you were a child. That would have been the bomb, just to have that many on there riding along. Granted, yes, the guys standing out, especially the 2 standing in the back, would be easy targets, but that's half the fun. The alternate modes, the Jet Throne's okay. It could have been a lot better, but it's serviceable. Especially when you also, like I said, Optimus has a airplane mode on his vehicle, so they made this one have one so the toys were equal. I get it. It works for what it is. The missile base, that's kind of fun. And again, you could get 6 guys in it if you stand them all up in all the other cubbies and only have 2 sitting in the seats. There you go, 6 guys on there. You'd have a total of, with Megatron there in the Jet Throne, you got 7 Action Masters all standing on one toy. What more could you want out of that? All in all, a lot of the Action Masters get a bad rep just because of the way they were. And I do get that, and I do understand that. But as an adult collector, and looking back over these, I've kind of grown to understand more about them, and especially a lot of the older ones that were brought back in, especially if they were a character that we really didn't get to see a whole lot of. And in this case, with bringing back Megatron into the mix, that at least gave us another chance to get Megatron. But about the time this toy came out, I was starting to get out of playing with toys, so I missed out on the opportunity to get this one. It wasn't until the G2 one rolled around that I managed to get him, and I bought him at clearance. So that was just to have the excuse of having a Megatron. In reality, I think I would have liked having this one over the G2 one, to be honest. This one at least has a lot of play features going for it, and not a reliance on batteries. So, imagination runs further than any battery, especially those that are advertised by a pink bunny. And that concludes my review of the Decepticon Action Master unit, the Neutro Fusion Tank, and its driver, Megatron. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up for me here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below so you join up within our ranks, and ring the notification bell so you'll learn when new videos go live. Please also consider sharing your thoughts about Megatron and the tank in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying we're going to be wrapping up Action Master Month next week, and I'm sure many of you can already guess who it's going to be, so I'll catch you all later.